You want your career to end in Phoenix.
Man, I want my career to end on my terms. That's the only thing.
Bingo.
I didn't want to move, and then as a player like me, I cost a lot. I make me going into your team is gonna make it's gonna be a whole new era of your team when I get to your team. I'm still of value, you know what I'm saying? Especially in my contract and just my production. That me just getting up and moving in the middle of the season, it's gonna be a big blow to any team I'm going to. You know what I'm saying? I get why y'all want to trade me, and y'all looking at it just from the simple fact that's just business, but from me looking at it, I'm just like, it just don't make sense for either side right now to go through that. You know what I'm saying? When we just play the season out, and if that's the decision you want to make, in the off season, then you figure it out.
So be it.
So what I heard him say was basically that was a financial flex by Kevin Durant. KD just laid out the case explaining why he didn't want to be traded at the deadline. But, the offseason is a different story. What happens with the Suns this summer, Wendy?
Yeah, well, they're going to trade him. And he knows that. And, he's actually given them, there's been a couple opportunities where he could have criticized them for trying to trade him. He has not done that. He has been very professional about this, and I expect that to continue throughout the rest of the regular season. He's going to try to win every game he's out there. And then in the offseason, he sort of gave himself a little ad there. He's like, whatever team gets me, I'm going to make a difference. I'm still in my prime. So I think he's handled this very appropriately. And look, I know that the Warriors wanted him. It didn't work out. He said, I want to be there. Warriors are doing great too. They're doing just fine. KD is setting himself up for his last act. I think everybody's intentions are crystal clear here.
Folks, you heard KD, and you know that the Phoenix Suns wants to trade him. He's leaving the door open. He didn't want to come the mid-season. You might argue if you believe him or not, but the Warriors have the opportunity to pull this off. As it was said, it's crystal clear the goal for every single piece in this size here, right? KD didn't want to move mid-season. He still for sure wants to win more rings. We know what happened in his time at the Warriors. We had the powerhouse, we had the dynasty, and he had that issue at the end with Draymond Green. But there are ways, and we're going to discuss this today, that the Warriors can pull off this trade for next season. And I'm curious how powerful it would be if that happened. Because let's recap a few things, right? The Warriors try it right now. Jimmy Butler was supposed to be traded to Phoenix, and then we would get KD, and KD stopped that trade. So would the Warriors, now that things are working, still move Jimmy Butler? Unlikely, because he fitted so well. And it's always a risk when you bring a superstar like that. Even for KD that has been here before, the team is different, right? We don't have Clay, we don't have other team members that were around. They are not at the same age, they're in different levels. So he still would need to fit. Then, how you fit his salary, like what pieces would the Warriors give up, if any, to bring KD? Look, he has a 51 million salary this season, due to 54 million next season, one of the highest paid players in the NBA. Then he apparently didn't agree with the extension with the Phoenix Suns, so he's going to be an unrestricted free agent for 2026-27. When you look to the salary cap or the salary sheet for the Warriors, for next year, we already have committed 181 million. And it's expected that the salary cap for the NBA should be something around 195 million. So we had a gap of 14 million, but then we still have to deal with the Jonathan Kuminga situation, which everyone's creating so much expectations around, and we're going to quickly talk about him today. What would the Warriors do? Because if we invest on getting maybe a 25 million contract and assuming that Jonathan Kuminga accept that, we use that 14 million. Then what pieces would you think that the Warriors would involve to get Kevin Durant? Should they do it? Because likely we're talking about giving up a lot of assets, right? If you have to combine for 54 million, we are probably either giving away John Kuminga, assuming that he's taking that 25, or you have to involve Draymond Green on that. And then would you do it? or Jimmy Butler, but it's working well. It just fitted. Like if you could just give Jimmy Butler and trade, it's basically the same salary. Would the Suns do that? Would the Warriors do that right now? That things are working. We don't know how far we're gonna go. We are creating expectations, but does it make sense? Like, would you give another try if we do a playoff run, but we don't get that deep? But would you still add pieces to it and keep Jim Butler around? Likely, right? Because he fitted so well, at least so far. Now, if you're not moving Jim Butler, then would you move Draymond Green? Would you move Jonathan Kuminga? Would you move both? Because they're both in around 25 million for next year. You need to get to 54, so you're likely talking about putting Buddy Hield on that mix, Tracy Jackson, Moses Moody. You're gonna match, right, to be on that, and that's a lot of assets to give up and a whole reshaping. You get imagine if you're getting a team with Jim Butler, Kevin Durant, Stephen Curry, and then I don't know, like your other 5 pieces if you move it, either Jonathan Kuminga or Draymond Green. So it's a massive firepower, but then also what do you let it go and what pieces you let it go, right? Draymond Green, that is basically your master in the defense and leading your defensive system, and is basically doing a center with the small lineup that we spoke yesterday and it's working right now. Or do you let it go, Jonathan Kuminga, which for a lot of people has a huge potential, super young player, has reached a lot of milestones with the Warriors right now. It's about to head back. So how would the Warriors fit that? But it's so interesting and it's a massive opportunity because you also have to think on the other way. Let's say we do nothing. Someone will do, right? And then whoever gets Kevin Durant, it gets much better. So sometimes it's also about avoiding that someone else gets in, right? And that's a very interesting. The West is already very difficult. Would he do a move to another East team like he did to the Brooklyn Nets? Like who? Like then you have also a very dangerous team right now on the East, right? You have the Cavaliers, you have the Boston Celtics, you have the Detroit Pistons that are in a row, and they could fit. So it's a very interesting spot, and for sure KD will keep moving the trade market and the rumors, and the Warriors are one of the places where he could land. He has done that before and has been very successful, right? So let's talk about Jonathan Kuminga. It's also, I think, whatever happens with KD or any future trade that the Warriors right now decide to do beyond Jim Butler, it will impact a lot of Jonathan Kuminga, right? He is due to that extension. He's a restricted free agent. The Warriors have a say on any offer that he gets, but the Warriors don't have much space without giving up other players, right? So anything above 25 million for next year, you already complicate for the Warriors. And even those 25, it limits what we can do for the other roles, spots on the roster. Right, we have Kevin Knox that you didn't see in the salary sheet, but is actually right now playing with the Warriors. Will the Warriors make an offer for him? So Warriors are in a very delicate cap space right now, and Kuminga is probably one of the most impacted by that because he has a big open future, a big opportunity to negotiate his next contract. And right now, we don't know much about what he's really expecting, considering everything that is happening in the season. Look at the news about Jonathan Kuminga. Everyone's super anxious for him to be back, right? And it's nearing. It's getting there. And I think I know the best, like my opinion, the best time for him to be back. He's going to be out until for the game against Orlando. And I would say that the best time to get back, it's on Monday against the Charlotte. It's supposedly an easy game. We roll in the Chase Center. We had a blowout win against them. Obviously, we know they're in a back-to-back games. I expect this to be more difficult. I'm actually going to be on that game. So, but I think it's the best spot. It's the first leg of a back-to-back. We have the Knicks on the other day. So I would say that I'm looking forward to see him back and how he's going to fit, how much he's going to learn from Jim Butler, and what is going to be the lineup. Curry already said, and I brought it here, he's not going to be a starter. He's going to keep with that role of coming out of coming from the bench, which I think is a perfect spot. You bring a guy that can add another 20, 25 points 18 points from the bench. It's very powerful as well. So more good news for the Warriors, and I think they are piling up. As I said, the Warriors are playing tonight against Orlando, 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. All chances to finish the February month, which has been great for us, in super high note. We are 6-1 since Jimmy Butler started. We actually just had a loss that was against Dallas. Was a game that we didn't play well, lost a lot of layups, but we also had very confusing referees on that game. You remember the offensive fall of Jimmy Butler on Kyrie Irving. Could be 7-0. We can finish at 7-1. The Warriors already in the 8th seed. We can get another one from Dallas. We can jump another spot tonight from Minnesota, actually, depending on Minnesota and Lakers. Warriors are in a row, and we are heading to that playoff spot. So where we want to be. Let me know your thoughts. Should the Warriors deeply invest on Kevin Durant? What would you give up to bring him back? Or is that something historic, Durant and Warriors, that is gone and we should give up and forget about it? Leave your comments there. Don't forget to subscribe. I see you tomorrow.